teams and entities across the area. So we're going to hear from everybody and you'll have a chance to ask questions, but we're just going to wait just like another minute at most as people trickle in, and then we will get going. So just give us 2 seconds. But thank you for being here. Hey, everybody, I see some more people coming in. We're going to just wait just another 30 seconds as people trickle in, and then we're going to get going, and we'll start. So just give us a few more seconds, but thank you for being here. I see the folks are coming. So just give it a hint longer, and then we will get going. All right, well, let us start. I know more people will trickle in as we go, but hey, everybody, I'm Ken Rother. I am the director of Rev, an incubator here in downtown Ithaca that's part of the Cornell suite of incubators. I'm also faculty at Cornell, and on Ithaca, Rev Ithaca is also part of what's called the Southern Tier Startup Alliance, which is a group of incubators here in the Southern Tier of New York. So today's session, we're going to hear from various folks who run programs around the state, programs that are specifically designed to help different kinds of entrepreneurs, both from a domain perspective. For instance, we have someone who's very focused on food, and then both also from, across domains, for instance, someone from a legal clinic. So we're going to hear from a broad group of people. The format is pretty straightforward. Each person will get about 5 minutes to introduce themselves properly and what their organization provides, what kind of services and how you might access them. And then at the end of all of this, we're going to have a Q&A. So if you have questions, put them in the Q&A panel. You have a box below where you can ask questions, and we'll get to the questions towards the end. But feel free to ask the question at any time so you don't forget. And then when we get to the end, after all the speakers, we will then open it up for questions from everybody. But feel free to type them in as you go. All right. So let us get to our first speaker then. Hallie, next slide. All right. Well, I am thrilled that we have Heidi with us. I've gotten to know Heidi over the last few years. We keep running into each other at various events, and I know we have a lot of common interests in helping entrepreneurs. So I'm really thrilled that she's here from Empire State Development to talk about her organization. So Heidi, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ken, and thanks so much, Hallie, for organizing this. I really appreciate it. This is an exciting thing for me to talk about. So I'm part of New York Ventures. I'm a senior director at New York Ventures, and I'll talk a little bit about what I do for the state. But for those of you who are not familiar with New York Ventures yet, New York Ventures is the venture capital arm for New York State. So we make investments, equity investments, both directly into companies and also into fund managers. Hallie, do you mind turning the slide? Thank you. So our mission is that we support and invest in diverse entrepreneurs and their high growth companies through the state and secure a healthy, sustainable, and economically vibrant future for all New Yorkers. So just to kind of emphasize a few points there. So we support and invest in diverse entrepreneurs. So what that means to us is diverse in geography and diverse in racial background and diverse in just a whole host of things. So we focus on female entrepreneurs, and you'll see this in a slide in a moment. Hallie, do you mind? Hallie, do you mind? Perfect. So we have a great team, and it's a a growing team. So Jennifer Teagan is our managing director here. So she manages all of the programs that we have, and as you see here, we've kind of color coded our team. So the blue represents our direct investment team. And the kind of teal here represents our indirect investment team, and I'll get to that in a second. Next slide. New York Ventures has 2 different buckets of money, essentially. So we have direct investment dollars, which is what I'm going to focus on today because I think it's the most relevant, but we have direct investment dollars. We have a venture capital innovation fund, which is $135 million in state and federal funding that's making investments directly into entrepreneurs, and a pre-seed and seed matching fund. These are the two programs that I'm going to focus on during this 5-minute overview. But I do want to let you know that we have an indirect investment arm as well. So we have a fund of funds program that totals $150 million investing directly into entrepreneurs. That extra $4 million is for administration of the program. And excuse me, I have a tiny bit of a cold today. And these two funds, essentially, one invest in funds that have some programmatic support, and the Emerging and Regional Partner Fund invests directly into venture capital funds and does not have that programmatic support requirement. So I do want to call out Jay Katz is on the call, and you'll be hearing from him about LaunchNY. So that is a fund that we have made an investment in through the Community and Regional Partner Fund program. Next slide. So the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund, again, this is one of our direct investment funds. So we invest in companies from the seed to Series B stage, and we invest $250,000 to $3 million into those companies. The matching ratio for that is 2 to 1. So we're never going to lead a deal, and we do require that there be some matching funds. So the fund size is $135 million. We are currently deploying capital and have an external advisory board that helps us make those investment decisions. So we don't actually make any of the ultimate investment decisions. We just provide recommendations to this advisory board. And we do require that there be 3 years of residency in New York State post-investment. Something really important to call out is what we focus on. So we don't focus on, for instance, consumer product goods. We focus on clean tech and climate tech, also healthcare and life sciences, AI, and other computational technologies, advanced manufacturing, agriculture, and a category that we call social impact, which I'll get to in a second. So again, we invest in diverse teams in New York State geographies. How do you get in touch with us? You connect with a member of the New York Ventures team, and I have a slide at the end that kind of gives the overview of who those people are. These are some of the companies that we invest in. I don't want to go through all of them, but just really quickly on the social impact slide, because this is a category that I think is kind of hard to understand. So these can be software technologies that don't fit into another category, but address some social problem. Next slide. We have tremendous impact metrics, and I won't go into this in detail, but just because you're at Cornell in the Southern Tier, so we've invested primarily, if you see here, 52% outside of New York City, which I think is a good statistic. Next slide. And then, even though I said that I was going to focus on the pre-seed seed fund, I've basically run out of time. So the big thing to note here is that you can apply directly through our website. So we have an application. The key sectors are the same, and we're investing checks of $50,000 to $250,000 and only require a matching ratio of 1 to 1. Next slide. And then just really quickly, all of these programs are investment programs, meaning you have to be a venture backable business in order to receive investment, which is a very specific category of company. And I'm sure that Ken has talked about this and others have talked about this, but this is a very specific category of company. So you have to have a large and growing market, product market fit, a go-to-market strategy, a great team, and some competitive advantage, and the ability to raise outside private capital. So our team is happy to talk with you through those criteria if that's helpful. Next slide. And we'll do the next slide here. This is how you get in touch with all of those programs. So the Pre-Seed Seed Fund has an email address that you're welcome to email. We also have office hours for that program, and you can find our application online. So thank you so much for the time. And, at the end, happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Heidi. Um, that was that was one of the best succinct versions of what's an investable company I've seen in a while. So I took a screenshot of that. I'm going to steal it because people often ask me that, and I thought that was a nice summary. So as Heidi indicated here, most of us know each other, by the way, when we talk about you all when we meet companies. So Heidi mentioned Jay from Launch New York. So Jay, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ken, and good morning, everyone. My name is Jay Katz, and I'm a senior investment manager at LaunchNY. Just a little bit about LaunchNY. We're a nonprofit venture development organization that supports high-growth potential startups across all sectors in the Western New York, Upstate New York, and Capital Region. We're driven by a social and economic development mandate and seek to support companies that may be in economically distressed areas, which is a lot of upstate and Western New York, companies led by underrepresented founders, and companies that may have some sort of environmental sustainability-oriented vision or solution that can scale. We provide this support through pro bono mentorship in the form of entrepreneurs in residence, also known as EIRs, that we cover the expenses for utilizing grants from our sponsors, as well as early stage funding from our 3 investment funds, which Heidi, noted, supports one of ours, LP Fund 2, with the 3 funds being the nonprofit, our first for-profit fund, and our second for-profit fund, which have actually allowed us to be the most active seed stage investor in New York by volume over the last 6 years. To detail, though, a little bit more about the company's journey with us after being accepted into the Launch New York program, the EIRs that we inject into the businesses, pro bono will work with the assigned startup for a minimum of 3 months, if not more, and assist the company in reaching a level of investment readiness for venture capital financing. These areas that these EIRs will work with the client companies on include things like their customer discovery, their business model canvassing, their pitch deck, data room, pro forma, etc. Really anything that's required to credibly allow a company to begin seeking that venture capital fundraise. And once companies have met the adequate milestones, they then become eligible to seek funding from our 3 funds. And in many of these cases, we'll also act as the first institutional investor into a company, as we do lead many of the rounds that we'll partake in for the first initial investment into a company, which we'll typically structure through a convertible debt note. Once a company receives funding from Launch New York, though, their journey does not end with us. They actually transition into a more resource-heavy portfolio management program for our portfolio companies only, in which we continue to inject additional customized resources into the company to assist them with a broad array of matters from our broad resource pool. And this can be anything from the lines of a go-to-market support, could be fundraising support through deal syndication, it could be support around sales strategy, etc. It actually is really a la carte per company, as all the companies have different needs. But the thing that ties everything together through this program is to set these companies up to hit key milestones that are going to unlock additional fundraising down the line that further de-risk the business and attracts additional outside funding as the company goes on their journey to exit. In addition to our mentorship programs and our 3 investment funds, though, we also have a program called the Investor Network, which is our network of over 330 accredited angel investors that we will also bring investment opportunities to, typically alongside a financing round that we may have partook in. This program allows us to introduce additional potential resources into the company through introductions, but also allows us to further de-risk a deal by aggregating and injecting additional investment dollars into a fundraising round alongside our funds dollars that will go in as part of the round. Alongside these programs, we have some additional mentorship programs, one of which we call our Founders Go Big program. This is a program in place that allows us to support underrepresented founders with business concepts that are earlier in the life cycle. And we also have an eco incubator that is set up to support environmental, clean tech, and sustainability-oriented startups as well. So if you or anyone has a startup that's looking to scale in the Western New York, Upstate New York, or Capital Region, we would love to work with you and help in providing pro bono resourcing. And the steps to do so are incredibly easy. All you got to do is go to our website, which is LaunchNY.org, and click the big Apply Now button to submit the application. So you could do that, or you could reach out to me directly at jkatz@launchnY.org if you have any questions or want to chat further. And that's J and then KATZ, for that email. So with that, Ken, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. And also for everyone on the line, thank you all for your time. And I hope, down the line, we'll have the ability to work with each other as you guys begin to grow your startups. Thanks, and I will cede the floor.
Great. So don't forget, everybody, if you have questions for any of our speakers, then put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them after we hear from everybody. And next slide, please. All right, next up is Elena from FuzeHub. And I know over the years we have shared many companies together helping them. So I'm anxious to hear what FuzeHub is up to.
Thanks, Ken. Next slide. Okay, so for those that don't know, FuzeHub is a non-for-profit organization that serves manufacturing innovators in New York State. We provide guided access to our extensive network of industry experts, programs, and assets to solve productivity, commercialization, research and development issues, and other challenges to growth. Next slide. We are the designated statewide Manufacturing Extension Partnership Center. This is a national program funded through the Department of Commerce to keep U.S. manufacturers competitive. It is also supported by Empire State Development. In addition, FuzeHub receives other state and federal dollars for several initiatives supporting the manufacturing and innovation ecosystem across the state. Next slide. Our activity is funneled through 4 main programs, which I like to think of as our key ingredients to helping build and support a community. Next slide. First, we have our solutions program led by Eric Fasser, an engineering and product development expert with over 20 years of experience. And if you're in the audience and reached out to FuzeHub, I'm sure you've spoken with him. His team meets with over 200 companies and startups a year. After initial assessment and advisement, these companies are matched with resources, experts, programs, and services to find solutions for their problems. On the screen, you will see a few of the state-funded resources we funnel many requests to. However, our network has expanded intensely over the years. We now have a knowledge base of manufacturing resources such as contract manufacturers, potential suppliers, funding, and just general companies for some more B2B connections. Next slide. Our most popular program is our Jeff Lawrence Innovation Fund, led by Patty Rechberger, and we deploy around $1.5 million a year into the New York State manufacturing community through supporting projects and supporting entrepreneurs. Next slide. Okay, our manufacturing grants. That's a fun slide. This requires a partnership between a company and a non-for-profit. So think of an accelerator, incubator, university, a manufacturing assistance center, community college. So those are the kinds of relationships we're trying to support through the manufacturing grants. You can choose between an award of $15,000 to $65,000. And this is our broadest funding opportunity that we have. Proposals can be idea on a napkin, back of a napkin concept, or a scale-up project. And actually today, if you're on our mailing list, we just announced this round of projects. You can keep going. Thanks, Holly. Our commercialization competition, which is, I believe, open now. The deadline is coming up in August. That's for startups. They can apply directly. The money goes directly to the startup company. Awards start at $50,000, but we do have a grand award of $150,000, and we even introduced a runner-up award this year for $100,000. So we're trying to increase our award amounts with the cost of goods and everything growing to kind of keep up with the economy. You must be a startup, meaning you will have less than $100,000 in revenue, and you must have some iteration of a prototype. Here's an example of some recent funded projects. I won't go into them, but you can see we're pretty industry agnostic. We fund everything from energy to life science to semiconductor, and we also support a lot of consumer products. Next slide. And lastly, our events and marketing is a big effort at the organization. At the end of the day, I consider ourselves storytellers, capturing all the good work going on around the state. From our blogs to our newsletters to working with the media, we get the message out about New York State innovation. In addition, we hold monthly forums across the state focusing on different topics and industries. And we also provide marketing services based on all of our success in marketing. We've been approached by companies to help them with their websites and a lot of their digital marketing. And lastly, stay tuned for our largest event. I think all the speakers have attended is our New York State Innovation Summit, and that's October 28th and 29th in Syracuse, New York. Thank you.
Sorry. Awesome. Thank you very much. Next up is my colleague at Cornell here, Donna Howell from CCMR, a really interesting organization that will definitely be able to help many entrepreneurs. Donna, the floor is yours.
All right, so I need access to share my screen. Perfect. All right. So yeah, I'll start by talking a little bit about our background. It's pretty cool. So it's kind of based out of World War II and Cold War era research. But today, the center, we've been around since 1960, and we're exploring fundamental challenges in interdisciplinary materials research, and that's really important. We have folks from, chemistry, physics, everyone. At the university. So we're working to enable technological progress with a scope and complexity that does require experts from multiple fields. So there are centers like ours across the US, but CCMR has a special focus and mastery of materials at the atomic and molecular level, so science at the very small. And so today, we're one of the larger research centers here on campus, and we bring together interdisciplinary materials research and development capabilities, including 130 faculty across 12 different departments across Cornell. I think we have 4 of the 7 colleges. And that's the research is kind of one of those 3 legs of the stool of CCMR. The other 2 are industry programs and our facilities, which I'll talk a little bit about. In addition to the research, our facilities have world-class materials analysis and processing equipment. So it's over $35 million worth of equipment. And the value for businesses is a lot of them, when they're just starting out, can't afford these major R&D facilities. And so they come here and are able to use it on a fee-for-service basis. As well as the fact that they are overseen by instrument managers who can provide assistance and training. So these facilities don't just serve Cornell. We're an open, public, shared facility that serves researchers and industry. And folks come from across the US and even sometimes the world to use our facilities and work with our experts. And we have 10 staff scientists currently on board that can provide training on our equipment, including safety, operation, and data management. Or if a company isn't able to come to Ithaca, they can actually do the work for an additional charge for companies. And then new in 2024, we just hired a glass blower. So we've reopened the glass shop and we're able to do scientific glass blowing. And then finally, our industrial programs. So we help companies of all sizes solve science-driven challenges. So we're more of the technical support versus the business support of some of my colleagues here, where we do a variety of projects across many industries. So we're not just, high technology, microelectronics, which we do, but we've helped with swim caps, which is a recent project. We've done sprays, we've done medical devices. If it's something made of stuff, we can typically help companies. And, like a lot of my colleagues here, we're part of that NYSTAR network funded by ESD. And we work with all of our different partners, and we're always referring back and forth. So our programs, I would say, really fall into 3 major buckets. The first is our student internship programs. So this is our eShip at Cornell, which is undergraduate students that we can actually help cost share for companies who want to host a student to work on a specific project over the summer. And then the MEng program is usually a longer term, more complex project where a company would host a master's of engineering student for a year. And this would be their program required project. And we do cost sharing for that as well. And then the second bucket is our business programs. And so invest in Jumpstart. Most people have heard of Jumpstart. If you've heard of any of our programs, it's very popular. And these are well-defined technical challenges that your business might be facing. It's usually 1 semester long, and we provide up to 1/3 the cost of that, and that matches you with those experts, as well as our faculty members, and then provides access to our equipment, including training if needed. Invest is typically longer than a semester. They can go a year or 2. These are bigger projects that provide access to faculty on areas of mutual interest in research. And we do some small cost sharing for that. And then our third bucket is our more facilities-oriented program. So Explore, if you're a first-time user, you might feel a little intimidated. So we're trying to reduce that barrier to access. So we provide up to 1/3 of the cost for a first-time user to come in, use our facilities, get trained, and work with our experts to help kind of define what their problem might be if they need help with that. And then with our CAT projects, these are in partnership with the Biotechnology Center here on campus. They work with larger companies typically, and provide grants for research with industry. And if there's a materials component, CCMR will step in and also help cost share for that. And just real quick, this is an example. So like I said, we do a lot of different projects. We had a company that was looking to detect Lyme disease at an earlier stage using Raman spectroscopy. They came in, we were able to work with them, and they figured out a way to create a better substrate for better medical outcomes for Lyme disease patients. And then I did want to touch on really quick some of our partner centers. So CCMR works with several of the other physical science facilities on campus. And so CNF is another one of those shared facilities. They have equipment to provide kind of start to finish device fabrication, including simulation software, back-end processing capabilities, and packaging and testing. They're also going to be upgrading its tool base over this next year through some federal grants. So they'll have even more capabilities. And so this is a unique fabrication facility that we have here on campus. And so they'll be able to support quantum science and technology, hetero integration, and then 200 millimeter wafer capability. And then CHESS is a high intensity X-ray source that is also open. You can go online using, I thought they had a QR code, but they have their website. If you're interested in using their facilities, you can go in on their website, reach out to their user manager, and put in an application for beam time. So thank you.
Thank you. Really interesting organization. We've had several entrepreneurs who've really benefited. Next up, I'd like to introduce Brian from the New York State Science Technology Law Center. Brian may not be happy to hear, I'm going to phrase this is like one of the best kept secrets we have in New York State. Every time I end up introducing a company to this group, they are thrilled and just sing their praises. This is an awesome organization and just a really unique resource we have available for entrepreneurs. So Brian, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Ken. It's good to be here. By the way, I have to point out, I like the glasses. They're very sharp. Very nice. As Ken said, my name's Brian Gerling. I'm a professor here at the Syracuse College of Law. And the other hat that I wear is the Executive Director of the Innovation Law Center, which is a NYSTAR asset, and we receive grant funding from Empire State Development. Before I get into what we do, I want you to think, everyone's seen the show Shark Tank, right? Where an entrepreneur comes on and pitches their idea to various sharks who've changed over the years. But in essence, what that is an opportunity for entrepreneurs rather to make a pitch to investors. And two of the primary questions that the sharks always ask are, do you have intellectual property around whatever your product or technology is? And then do you have any sales, right? Is there any interest in this product or technology? At the Innovation Law Center, we deal primarily with the intellectual property side, right? So what the sharks want to know is, what is your competitive advantage with this product or technology in that marketplace that makes you a good investment risk? And so for the Innovation Law Center, what we're focused on is the intellectual property side. So what intellectual property might be available to you, and then how do you go about securing intellectual property around that product or technology? Primarily, we deal in the realm of patents, right? So by definition, if you can secure patent protection around your technology, the government will grant you a 20-year monopoly to practice that technology to the exclusion of all others. So if you're able to secure patent protection, by definition, you now have a competitive advantage over the other competitors in the market. And so what we do is we work with our clients to assess their technology, and much like what would happen at the Patent and Trademark Office, were you to apply for patent protection, we're doing a patent landscape study around your technology, right? So what other articles are out there? What other patents may be out there? And we kind of provide you with an analysis of, here's what's out there. Here's your path towards patentability. By that, I mean your ability to secure patent protection around that technology, and what obstacles are in the way there. Because 9 times out of 10, there's some other technology out there that's very similar. We don't practice law here at the Innovation Law Center. We'll give you a landscape study. We'll give you some ideas of, here's what's out there. Here's where you may need to pivot in order to secure patent protection. Right. So we're kind of a resource for early stage entrepreneurs. And by early stage, I mean pre-seed funding. And you're right out of the gate. And sometimes, we have to deliver bad news to the client that, hey, look, there's a blocking patent here. But that's not always bad news for an entrepreneur, because you may have considered moving in a variety of different directions with that technology, but now you're failing fast, so to speak, by us delivering this information to you. In addition to patent protection, we'll also assess trademark and other forms of intellectual property protection for you. As Elena said earlier, while FuzeHub may be industry agnostic, we're technology agnostic. So we work with anything from a medical device to software applications to uncrewed aerial systems. And sometimes those technologies involve regulations. So we'll provide also a regulatory landscape around that technology. So for example, in the case of a medical device, we will provide an FDA landscape. We won't tell you how to get through the FDA process, but we'll demonstrate for you, here's what you're looking at as you move forward in that FDA process. The other side of the report that we provide, information that we provide to the client, is a market analysis. So we work with our School of Management here on campus at SU, and much like providing a patent landscape analysis, what is your path to securing patent protection around your technology? What is your path in the market? So what is the market for your technology? Who are the major players in that market? Because as a startup, you may not have the capital to build a manufacturing facility to make your product. So you may be looking to license out that technology to somebody who's already established in the marketplace. So we're providing you with potential licensing partners. In the end, what we provide you with is a due diligence reports that demonstrate to an investor that you've de-risked your idea, and this is why you're likely a better investment risk than the other people that an investor will talk to that day. I'm getting close on time here. I just want to add contact that you can check us out at theinnovationlawcenter.com, and my email I put in the chat later, and you can reach out to me directly.
All right, thanks, Brian. I'm glad you acknowledged the Syracuse orange glasses. All right, next up we have Kathy Young. Kathy runs an awesome organization and has helped so many food entrepreneurs along the way. Yeah, really great organization up in Geneva. So Kathy, anxious to hear the latest update.
Well, thank you and good morning, Ken, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Kathy Young. I'm the Executive Director of the New York State Center of Excellence for Food and Agriculture. We're right here at Cornell Agritech in Geneva, New York. And Cornell University is known for a lot of wonderful things, but it also is known for global excellence in food and agriculture. And at Cornell Agritech, we've been a key supporter of the food and ag businesses across the state since about, well, for more than 140 years. So we are an amazing resource of research, innovation, and technology to grow the ag and food businesses. And as we know, agriculture and food are key economic drivers in New York. So this is very important to us. This is a shot, just back for a second. I want to talk about the pilot plant for a minute. This is our pilot plant. It's part of the Cornell Food Venture Center, which is one of our partners. This is an amazing place because companies can come, large and small, to test out processing and manufacturing techniques. We also have a food innovation lab where companies can come and work on product development. And so we have a high pressure processing unit. So if companies want to try that particular technology, they can. And what the Center of Excellence does, we're growing the food and agriculture economy in New York by connecting businesses and entrepreneurs with the services and the resources that they need in order to succeed. Next slide. So we're a dynamic hub for innovation and collaboration. And what we do is we connect these companies, whether they're startups, whether they're existing food, beverage, agriculture, or agriculture companies, with the unparalleled research and expertise of Cornell University. So we have a saying, it's push, pull, grow, which if we tell a company we're going to push them, pull them, grow them, they may think they're in for some torture. But what we mean by that is that we're pushing new technologies to commercialization in New York State. One of the things we're very excited about right now is our fermentation farming lab. And that's focused on precision and biomass fermentation, which is a new technology that is growing. So for example, if a company wants to test out techniques to grow alternative proteins by using plants, they can come to us. We are able to do their testing and their experiments for them. And if you're a company that's interested in fermentation, especially, the equipment is very expensive. So this allows companies to either succeed quickly, or if they're going to fail, they can fail quickly, and then they can pivot and try something else. So we're pushing new technologies. We're pulling in existing companies into New York State. And these companies are attracted by the opportunities to work with our sources of innovation and research. So one company is from the UK, for example. They wanted to come to the US. They did trials with our researchers here at Cornell Agritech on their fungicide, which is very safe, very effective. They actually were located in one of the labs that we have at the Center of Excellence. And I want to point that out because we have opportunities for private companies who want to be in the thick of things to actually co-locate with the Center of Excellence right here on campus. And so they have more access to our services and our technologies right here. But this company from the UK did their field trials. The Center of Excellence has been working with them to help them scale up their business. They've moved over to the technology farm, which is an agribusiness park right next door. And they're growing. They're working right now on setting up their manufacturing with guidance from the Center of Excellence and Cornell University. And we're also growing existing agriculture and food technology companies all across New York State. Next slide. So you can see our impact. These stats are about a year old, so it's much greater than this. And we're working on collecting our metrics right now for New York State, which is our major funder. But we have developed a network of over 1,000 companies. We've helped companies create more than 1,000 jobs and retain jobs. Our non-job economic impacts exceed $135 million. So we've helped the companies achieve these non-job economic impacts. help them increase their revenues, help them acquire non-government funds, and help them save money. Next. And so I do want to, before I get into FoodSpark, talk about how we connect. So we connect businesses with business mentoring, and we have experts right on Center of Excellence staff. Our business development specialists all have direct industry experience, and so they're led by Mark Scoville, who has more than 30 years of experience running a food company right within the industry. And this kind of expertise is invaluable to the companies we serve. One of the programs that we started in 2022 that we're particularly excited about is geared toward helping food startups. So we developed a program called FoodSpark. We're also a New York State certified business incubator in partnership with a technology farm right next door. And this actually is a 10-week course where food entrepreneurs can develop their products and learn all about the industry, whether it's the regulatory requirements that they have to adhere to, it's marketing, it's everything. And it teaches these participants how to bring a new food product to market. Next slide. So these classes are taught virtually through the eCornell platform. It's 5 separate segments, each lasting 2 weeks. It's asynchronous learning, meaning that it's very flexible. So if you have a day job that you have to work at and you want to take the course at night, you can do that. The classes are led by a program facilitator. And actually, the content was developed by some of our outstanding Cornell experts, Olga Padilla-Zakor, who is the director of the Cornell Food Venture Center, Ann Charles Vegdahl, who is an extension associate. She runs our microbiology lab that can do things like product shelf life testing. Dr. Bruno Xavier, who actually heads up the fermentation farming lab and also is associate director of the Cornell Food Venture Center, and Cynthia James, who also is an expert in food development. Next. And so their food product development certificate key takeaways, they can evaluate the feasibility of their product, that can identify all the different pitfalls that they may run into and how they can address those, determine which processing and packaging system is most appropriate, craft a plan, which is very important as we know, and develop a framework to bring a food product to market. And since we've started the FoodSpark program, we actually have graduated about 100 people. The next round is open right now. If people are interested, they can apply until July 26th. The class starts in September and graduation will be in November. And the highlight of it is that people can actually come to Cornell Agritech, to the campus, and have hands-on experience with our food experts. So thank you very much. If you want to contact us at the Center of Excellence, you can just do an internet search on the New York State Center of Excellence for Food and Agriculture, and we should pop up. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, if you have any questions for our guests today, please put them in the Q&A right after this next presentation by Liam. We're going to move to questions. So if you have any questions, and there's already a couple in there, love to hear from you. All right. Last speaker, certainly not least, is Liam from the SBDC, which has a long history of helping entrepreneurs in the area. So Liam, the floor is yours.
Thanks. So I'm Liam McMahon. I'm one of the advisors here. I'll try to keep this short too. I'm Liam McMahon, one of the advisors from the Small Business Development Center here at Binghamton University. So the SBDC is a free service funded by the SBA and State of New York, and it provides a lot of different services for entrepreneurs. Some of the big ones are business planning and financial forecasting. We also have professional researchers on staff that can help you answer business-related questions that you may have, including things like lead generation or even like demographic surveys. Our ideal clients we really are industry agnostic. So as long as you are looking to start a business here in New York State, we're more than happy to work with you. We can also work with existing businesses and people that are looking to exit their business as well through a sale. So our center here in the Southern Tier has 7 advisors with a wide range of expertise. They range from social media marketing to manufacturing, and anything in between. I usually tell people it's better to sign up for services, explain the requests that you have, and we will find someone to work with you one-on-one. My own focus here at the SBDC is primarily on tech and innovation, which includes working with several SBIR and STTR winners, such as Claw Industries here in Binghamton, who I think actually just won a FuzeHub grant. It was announced today. In 2023, we helped businesses in the Southern Tier alone secure over 18 million in capital and start over 140 new businesses. So to reiterate, all of our services here are free and confidential, which means that if you come here to talk to us about your business related questions, we can't share that information with anyone else. It's considered privileged information. So it's free and confidential to anyone that requests them. And we have centers throughout the state and region to meet your needs. So we have an office in Ithaca. We also have offices downstate. We have offices in Western New York, out of Buffalo, Rochester. So if you need service from us in any way, we have someone somewhere that can help you.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and move to some questions. So the first question is, when will this session, this recording be sent out? Yes, it will. You'll be able to re-reference this. So let me start with a couple of questions. So when they show up, so Liam, let me start with you. When someone has an idea, they're like, what do you want them to show up with, you know, when they come to you? What kind of assets would be useful for you to start working with them?
Oh, geez. So we kind of get people at all lifespans of their business. So we have a lot of people that come in with back of a napkin ideas all the way up to, I just had someone last week with fully 3D printed prototypes. Ideally, usually something that's at least somewhat fleshed out and maybe a little bit of customer discovery. But as long as they have like an idea and a rough idea of where they want to go with it, I'm usually more than happy to work with them. For a lot of people, we're kind of their first contact point as far as like their entrepreneurial journey goes. So they really don't even know where to begin. So a lot of times I find myself getting people prepared to reach out to, for example, like FuzeHub for help. So a lot of our stuff is really, really, really early stage a lot of times. So I usually tell people just come in prepared to discuss their idea and what they're looking to do, and we'll go from there.
Let me switch to Heidi. I know she's going to jump soon. You used an expression. So I really like that definition of investable company. You used an expression, and I want to make sure everyone understands it. You said, you all don't lead investments. So maybe just tell everybody, what is a lead investor, versus what you do.
Yeah, so I guess a different way to say that is that we don't set the terms of a deal. So you can understand why the state would not want to set the terms of a deal, right? So we don't want to be going back and forth with somebody who's doing a price round about, the valuation of their company. So in the same way that the state matches investment from other entities in the form of grants, meaning another entity determines someone like, anyway, a private entity determines that someone is eligible for a grant, like an SBIR or an STTR, for instance, which is a new program that we have. We basically make a determination that is in part based on the determination that the federal government has made. So similarly, for an investment, we don't lead an investment, meaning we don't set the terms of an investment. So we match terms of other investors.
Got it. Cool. Kathy, I have a similar question for you than I had for Liam. Sort of, when does someone show up? Like, what should have been done already? Like, when does your organization sort of start working with an entrepreneur?
We'll start at any stage. Usually, though, we do want someone to have a solid idea about where they want to go. And that's the beauty of what the Center of Excellence does, is that even if it's something that's not fully developed yet, we do have the resources at Cornell Agritech, for example, a food product, to help you really develop that product, figure out what the formulation should be, whether it's safe, what the regulatory scheme is, how you're going to produce it, how you're going to manufacture. We do a lot of business to business partnerships. So we do matchmaking. For example, if you're a food company starting up, you may have to go to another food manufacturer in order for them to produce their, your products. So we do all kinds of business to business efforts. We do a lot of mentoring as far as economic development incentives, if it's appropriate, sources of capital. So at any stage, but also if you're an existing food, beverage, or agriculture technology company, you're welcome to come to us and we can continue to make the connections that you need in order to grow your business.
All right. So one question, Heidi, I'm not sure you'll be able to answer or not. So there's been this highly successful SBIR matching program. For those of you that don't know, SBIRs are these grants. I think 11 federal agencies do them, the big one being NSF, but several others. And these are to help deep tech mostly look at bringing their research to market. And the state has had a highly successful program recently. Will there be another round of SBIR matching program? Do you any information?
So I don't know, but fun fact on this call is that I met Ken virtually when he trained me to be an I-Corps instructor. So that's a fun fact. When I first met Ken in person, I said, hey, I know you from somewhere. I don't remember where. And it was from the internet. So so the SBIR STTR matching program is run by NYSTAR, which you've heard a lot about on this call. So not in my purview, but I'm so happy to hear that it's successful, and that's amazing.
Yeah, very, very successful. So one person had a question, sort of a different question. What are the residence requirements for these opportunities? I'll be out of country for a year, but my permanent residence will be in New York. Will that count? And I think that's going to be on a program by program basis. So I can speak, for instance, for Rev. We have definitely had folks who work with us who are not here right now and are going to come back, and we're totally cool with that. But other programs, depending on their funding requirements. So I would suggest to the person who asked that, if there's a particular program here that you're interested in, that you reach out to that organization, because I think the answer will sort of be very dependent on the org and sort of their responsibilities to their individual funders. Jay, I wanted to ask you a question. I'm pretty close to launch. So could you, I think the way you all do it is very different than the way traditional VCs do it, this idea of that early stage relationship. So I was hoping maybe you could just spend a couple seconds sort of delving into that. Someone doesn't show up and launch and say, here's my deck. Do you want to fund me? I think you all do it so differently that it's worth a little bit of reinforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of take the angle of mentorship first. So we'll work with companies for a number of months to really get them to a point where they could go out and have a good shot at venture capital fundraising. So a lot of times, folks will learn about us and, in order to even be able to access the funding opportunities, they actually have to be plugged in through our mentorship programs and working with an EIR. And that EIR will have to actually sign off and sort of give a, check of validation when they feel that the company is meeting all the requirements that LaunchNY views as important to seek the, venture funding path. And then, it's really at that point in time, which could be a minimum of 3 months, it could be longer. We've had some companies that have been with us for a year and a half before, they really hit what they need to seek that funding. But at that point, that's when we'll take them into like the due diligence process. And I would say that's really like at that time where things start kind of coming together, such as, the beginnings of product market fit, a minimum viable product that's been put together and steeped in a good cohesive customer discovery process. So there's a fluid and easy way to see that there are initial and early adoption interest on a specific type of solution. And then, with those parameters, making sense and the market being there, that's when, our funds will then go in to support the company and help them get to, their next steps in the journey, which are usually around the beginning of a commercialization type of phase, I would say.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's a phenomenal program. Elena, could you elaborate? So the competitions are fantastic. I love seeing the pitches and very exciting winners. Can you talk a little bit more about sort of what makes a good entry into the various competitions?
Sure. Well, I guess I'll just start with the commercialization competition because that's our pitch Shark Tank competition. And we do follow the typical slides that everybody wants to see and have gotten a lot of feedback. But I think it's when a company can get up there and have a strong message about their product or technology that is not too technical, and really talks about the problem they're trying to solve. If they have a good understanding of their financials, where they're going, and just a good understanding of their competition, and the industry that they're in, those are kinds of things that the judges will call out if they are not clear. And I think keeping it, you have 8 minutes, all these pitches, we really try to force companies, and I think all the competitions, to really be high level and sell yourself. So you want to really articulate the product and the connection that you have to it without getting too much into the weeds about the technology. I think those make some of the greater pitches that we see.
Cool. Thank you. Donna, one program I see go by on a regular basis, I think annually, is Jumpstart. You want to talk?
I would love to, and I'm so glad that you asked, because one thing I forgot to mention is we are currently accepting applications for Jumpstart. So this is a really popular program that we offer twice a year for the fall and the spring semester. Project budgets can be up to $15,000, where CCMR can cost share up to 1/3 of that program. So applications are due by July 31st for this upcoming fall 2024 semester. And the companies who apply would be, if you're funded, you are matched with a faculty member who is an expert in the area that you're looking to grow and wherever your technical challenge is. And then the money can be used for our facilities, for other students that working with the faculty member to work on the project as well. So one really cool one, a Cornell Chronicle article just came out today about a jumpstart that we did last semester with a company looking to make swim caps for women of color to protect their hair so it's watertight. And we matched them with our human ecology faculty, and that's a really, really neat example of the type, kind of the broad industries that we're able to serve through this program. So we've worked with a cookie company on a jumpstart for faster drying frosting. We've done medical devices, and we've done really deep technology stuff. So yeah, it's a really great program. If you're interested, feel free to reach out or drop a question in the chat. But yeah, those applications are due on July 31st.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry. Thank you. Brian, I'll go back to an earlier question. My main entry into your organization is Molly. Whenever I have one, I send them to Molly, which is great. But could you talk just quickly, or not so quickly, on what people should show up with? Like at what point do you want to engage with them? What assets do they need? What should they have accomplished already? I think sometimes people show up just a little too early in the process.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I'll give you a highly legal answer. It depends. We have an intake form actually at the Innovation Law Center webpage, and it kind of winnows out we're a little bit beyond the ideation phase. So really, when we're talking about patent eligibility, we're looking at conception of the idea, but then have you reduced it to practice, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you need a working prototype to come work with us, but it's got to be more than just on the napkin, right? You've got to have calculations or figured out a way that how am I actually going to take this concept and make it, right? So our form's pretty good. We've tweaked it over the years now, so it kind of asks some pretty poignant questions like, where are you in the development process? So what I don't want folks to take away is you don't need a working prototype, I guess. So somewhere in this continuum from not necessarily a working prototype, but more than just an idea on the napkin.
Cool. Okay, I love the last one that just showed up in the Q&A. So I'm going to say, first of all, big shout out to the SBDC, to one of your folks in Buffalo. So that's nice to hear. Yeah, most folks don't know where to start. Like we all overlap a little bit. If this was a big Venn diagram, it's not like we're all 9 circles in the middle, or 10, but we all overlap a little bit. So how do we all, I think the question is, how do we all communicate so that newcomers get to the right place? We all know each other, like I alluded to this earlier, and I think I am sure all of us have referred someone to someone else on this screen today. There's no doubt. We know it takes a village, so I'll answer for all of us that. But I am like 100% sure that all of us have made a referral to someone else. Say, oh, you should start with and get you to the right person, and we're happy to do that. And often there are many cases where 2 or 3 or 4 of us are all working with an entrepreneur simultaneously from different angles. This happens just all of the time. So I'm glad somebody asked that question. So don't worry about where to start. If you don't know where to start, pick whichever face you think is friendliest, and we'll get you to the right place to move people along. A little bit of a jump ball question here. I have an answer, but I want to hear if anybody here wants to take it. So seeing as you have experience with businesses at many different stages, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs just starting out? Are there any key questions you suggest they ask themselves or missteps you often see beginners make? Who wants to take a shot at that?
I mean, I'll jump in. I get a lot of early stage people. I know from my end, the biggest challenge that we see is that people don't do a lot of customer discovery. So people tend to come in with an idea. They really are somewhat defensive about discussing the idea with anyone at all. And so they're really unwilling to do customer discovery. And I know, at least for me, it ends up being a lot of wasted time sometimes for certain projects, largely because no one's pumped the brakes for a second and asked, does someone really want to buy this thing that I've created? I'm sure you see it, Ken, too, up at Rev pretty regularly.
Absolutely.
I think I think for me, I see the first thing that entrepreneurs want to do is get investment or get money. And that is like not the first thing that is helpful at all. And so they spend a lot of time trying to pitch investors or pitch other people for money, when really, if you look at all of the squares here, you notice that I'm the only person who's and Jay too, but Jay to a lesser extent because he has the entrepreneur in residence network, right? So the mentorship that you see on this call is the most helpful, I think, for early stage entrepreneurs. So if you're thinking, how do I get money? I think I would change it to, how do I get connected to the right resources that can help me grow my business to a point where it's more valuable and I will be able to not only get investment easier, but have a better cap table.
Cool. The words I use lately is, what are you helping someone achieve that they can't achieve currently that they really want to achieve? Like, so when we think about our customer, they're trying to do something. What is it they cannot do, or they cannot do well, or they cannot do safely or cheaply or whatever, that with you they'll be able to do? And if you can't sort of get to that problem, like what is it you're helping someone achieve, you may want to think about if you're heading in the right direction. But I think all of us would love to help you frame that question. One of our folks, big shout out, the SUNY Summer Startup School has been a great resource to give starting entrepreneurs an idea of what they need to get started and some of the resources available to them. So thank you for pointing that out. And now the last question, it's hard to know if my business idea is considered small/regional or has potential for high growth. How can I assess that in advance of accessing resources? Heidi, do you want to take a shot on how do you, like, from investment? How do you think about sort of small regional versus high growth?
Yeah, sure. I think just a typical like TAM, SAM, sum will help you do that. So like, what's your serviceable obtainable market? What's your serviceable accessible, like what is your total available market? And then if your TAM is not something over $1 billion, this is a very like crude way to think about it, but if your TAM is not over $1 billion, you probably have a company that is smaller or more regional, which, just to be clear, does not mean that it is not investable by a certain category of investors or that it's not worth doing, right? But I think the big thing is if you don't have that high growth company that has a very large market, knowing that you should not go after, you know, certain types of venture capitalists. I think that it's more of a question of where do you spend your resources and how do you keep the majority of your company owned by you. And so it's not, do you do this company or do you not do this company? It's more what types of resources do you engage in order to propel the company forward?
Cool. Yeah, thank you. An interesting question came up. My question is for panelists whose organizations substantially or exclusively support STEM-related companies. Let me see here. In general, how might a business focus on supporting STEM industry and research be evaluated? I'm a scientist who provides communication, design, and marketing services to professionals and industries in STEM. So this is someone who is working with companies, I'm guessing, that are in the STEM space. Well, first of all, I think everybody on this call, so like I look at all of these boxes, every one of these folks, not exclusively, but often works with people who are in the STEM space. And if you are looking to provide services to support early stage entrepreneurs in the STEM space, my personal recommendation, and I've made this recommendation, is reach out to these folks and you know, let them know what you're doing, what kind of services you provide, and you know, get to know them. And as they meet organizations that might benefit from your services, now you'll know they're in the ecosystem. I would likely also say almost every one of these organizations, like us, put on events featuring different things in the ecosystem, and you know, make sure they know about you. So as they're putting on events or small trade shows or things like that, then you'll know about some opportunities to get the word out. All right, I think we're coming to the end of questions. I want to just take 2 seconds here. So I know you're all really busy. Like, thank you so much. All of us are here to help entrepreneurs, and we love doing it. And as I said earlier, we share so many companies in common. When, like, I'm sure you all had the same reaction when Heidi pulled up that NASCAR slide of all the companies they've supported. I'm sure every one of us, oh, we've worked with that one. Oh, we've worked with that one. You know, that was certainly my gut reaction. And I'm sure you had all the same things. So thank you for your time today. It was really a pleasure to get to see you all. I'm sure we'll see each other in the fall at various events that are coming up, including the big Grow New York event. I just have a couple quick slides I'm going to go through. Hallie, next slide. So as I said, if you're in the Southern Tier, there's a list of incubators here and that are here to help startups. So feel free to reach out to any of these, but there's a website you can grab the QR code. Next slide. We have a series coming up that we put on through Cornell, open to everybody, another QR code. We're going to cover a number of topics. Each one of these is kind of a panel format, lots of industry experts. It is not just for academics in any way, shape, or form. So if any of these look interesting to you, each is a standalone presentation. You know, sign up, scan the QR code, and you'll get more information. But it's a great set of webinar sessions coming up. Hallie? Here at Rev, one of my favorite programs, since I founded it, is our hardware program. We have 3 hardware programs, and our summer program called Prototyping ends Thursday, August 1st with a big demo day. So if you're in the Ithaca area, we would love to see you. It's a fun event. We have 20 teams this year that are going to be tabling and pitching what they've worked on for the last 10 weeks. I hear the 3D printers outside a buzz. So if you're in the area, we'd love to see you. Hallie? And that's it. So thanks, everybody, for your time. I hope this was useful. I certainly love catching up with everybody, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot. All right. Thank you all. Really, really appreciate your